The St. Louis Blues are down 2 games in the series against the Winnipeg Jets. Will they get a win in Game 3?
Hey, this is Brayden Chen.
Subscribe to Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today on Locked On Blues, it's quite simple. What went wrong in Game 2? Are the Jets going to sweep the Blues? Because that's a possibility right now, if the Blues being down 2-0. And what changes are needed? Listen, I'm not in the best mood because I am frustrated. And I feel like that's how all of St. Louis is right now after what we saw on display during the final frame of last night's game. But let's get into today's episode of Locked On Blues. Last night, the Blues fell 2-1 to the Winnipeg Jets. And I guess you could say the only thing that kept my sanity going was the fact that Winnipeg scored their second goal early in the third period, which is different than what the Blues usually do about letting a team score late in the third period. Other than that, it was a mess. It was a mess. I mean, you have Snuggerud who scores on the power play, which I'm happy about. Obviously, that doesn't mean anything now because the Blues still evidently lost that game. But Winnipeg, man, they're fast. They're aggressive. I could come on here and say calls were made for Winnipeg that weren't made for the Blues. But then again, the Blues had multiple power play opportunities that they couldn't score on. Besides that one from Snuggerud. And it just blows my mind, honestly, how disconnected the St. Louis Blues team looked in the final frame. I think Jordan Binnington is a god. I will say that. I will preach that. He made some incredible saves last night, keeping the Blues in the game. Here's the thing. The Blues have talent. It's not that they don't have talent, but they are still with a Colton Parayko on defense who is still looking a little bit banged up and not fully healed yet with that lower body injury. And that's not an excuse, but last night the Blues went with 11 forwards and 7 defensemen. And you put Tyler Tucker in the game. And Tyler Tucker, I always will say this, he had 55 penalty minutes in the regular season, only playing 30-something games. Gets penalties last night, and he is a liability on that aspect. And giving Winnipeg, by the way, an opportunity to go on the power play is very detrimental. It's dangerous. It's not smart hockey. And I think for me, that was the one thing that really did bother me was the sloppiness going against Winnipeg, knowing that this is a team that does well on the power play. Now, despite the fact that Winnipeg didn't score any power play goals last night, you had the two guys that I predicted to score, which was obviously Mark Scheifele and then Kyle Connor scoring for the Jets. Again, I say this all the time. If there's two guys on the Jets that you need to be worried about, it is them. And I think what makes it really interesting is, and I don't want to ignore this about Winnipeg because it's a reality, they are without some of their top players right now, which is so crazy to think about, that they have players that are better than the ones that they have out on the ice. And the guys that are still out on the ice are playing better than the Blues, even though the Blues are still in it. And I think that is my main takeaway. Yes, the Jets have won these 2 games, no doubt about it. But at the same time, I was rewatching the game today. I always rewatch the game because I get my emotions out from the previous night. And the Blues were still in it. They might have looked slower. They might have lost that juice in the final frame, but they came out looking pretty hot and good in the first period. And the second period, too, I thought was better than the second period from Game 1. So with that, I was okay with. But at the end of the day, you need to take more shots on goal. When you have the puck in the offensive zone, because the Blues didn't have as much offensive zone time as the Winnipeg Jets did, you need to take advantage. And that was the one thing that was bothering me. It's the final 8 minutes of the contest. I believe the Blues only had 1 shot on goal, and it's a bunch of passing. And the thing is, when you pull Jordan Binnington and you have that 6-on-5 advantage because you have the extra skater on the ice, and you're just passing the puck back and forth, what good is that going to do for you? And again, kind of backtracking here, but on the first goal that the Jets scored, the Mark Scheifele goal, Snuggerud fell into Bennington, but that was because of Nicoletti's awful skating, like awful. And Nicoletti's been a problem. Justin Folk, oh my goodness, Justin Folk has been an issue. It's really this whole team. Bushi, he's looked invisible. Kyrou looked invisible last night. Robert Thomas, I mean, I love Robert Thomas, but midway through the game, I was like, wait, where is Tom? Like, the one player that I feel like always gives his like 200% is Oscar Sundqvist. I cannot say anything bad about him. I think that he plays hard. He may not be the most skilled player, but he plays tough competitive hockey. So does Nathan Walker. Jake Neighbors didn't look so good to me last night. Didn't like his game. It's funny. Like Braden Shen, I kind of go back and forth on. I think Shenny is great on the faceoff, and I think he does play a physical game. But again, you can be physical all you want. I need these boys, these guys, to take some more shots on goal. And I think for me, that was the one thing that was the most frustrating. A listener of Locked On Blues, they asked me a great question. Hale, for Thursday's game, do you go 11-7 or do you go 12-6? I say 11-7. And the reason why is, despite Tyler Tucker last night annoying me with that penalty that he got, I still feel like having that extra defenseman is really beneficial due to the fact that the Blues' defensive core isn't so great at the moment. Not because of injury or anything. Even Broberg didn't look good. But I just feel like without having a Dylan Holloway right now, and I know he's a forward, obviously, you're not going to get much out of Matthew Joseph, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful. That's just the reality. So I would just rather have an extra defenseman and go with that. But, I mean, it just was a tough game. And I know I said prior that I would rather face the Jets than the Golden Knights, and I still stand by that. I feel like if the Blues played Vegas, it would be like some 5-1 losses. Like, it would not be close. I feel like this is relatively close for two teams that are polar opposites. Yes, the Winnipeg Jets are dealing with injuries, and I can acknowledge that, and they are. But at the same time, they still have one of the best goalies in the league within Connor Hellebuck. And I know that people say to me that at any moment he could break down and he may not be so good. I hate that because he is looking very sharp to me. Maybe in game one, I know him letting in 3 goals wasn't the typical Connor Hellebuck that we're used to seeing. But, I mean, he's so good at making that net look so small. And especially Robert Thomas had a shot on goal last night, and I don't know how, first off, he saved it because it went like over his shoulder and it went down his back and he was able to put his glove on it. But if Robert Thomas just shot that puck a little bit higher in the 5-hole, would have gone in, but he didn't. But again, that's the difference between the Jets and the Blues right now, is that the Jets, they do have a fine defense. It's good. It's a good defense, actually. I'm not going to even say fine. It's good. The Blues' defense, tough to watch. And that was the one thing that I really took away from last night's contest was I'm taking my notes, right? And I just don't have anybody on defense down that was playing that good of a game. And that bothered me. I'm thinking to myself, why is Snuggie and Sonny the two players that look like they're putting in the most effort besides Jordan Binnington in net? Jordan Binnington saved the Blues so many times in the contest last night. And if the Blues lose the series, you cannot blame Jordan Binnington. He is the reason why this team still has a chance at winning these games. Again, when you don't have a solid defense in front of you, it's really hard for the goalie to stop every single puck in their direction. It is. And when Snuggie fell onto Binnington, how was Jordan Binnington supposed to save that at that point? And it wasn't goalie interference. So again, you're in a situation where if that one goal didn't happen, it could have been a completely different game because that got Winnipeg on the board first. It blows my mind. And I was stunned last night. I felt so confident heading into the game. When Snuggie scored at the end of the first, tying up the game 1-1, I felt good. I was like, wow, the Blues have some juice back. And then evidently, The one thing that I will say about Winnipeg is that they played a really good game in the second frame, some good man-to-man coverage. And the Blues, sometimes they dump and chase. You need to just play aggressive hockey. And Zach Bolduc last night, and I love Zach Bolduc, and I love all of these guys, but I believe there's like 2 to 3 minutes left in the contest. And I guess, it's a dump and chase situation, but it was 3 Jets compared to 1 Blue, which was Zach Bolduc. And instead of going up and aggressively trying to get the puck and trying to convert something in the offensive zone, he kind of just skated lackadaisical. You can't do that in the playoffs. And I feel like that's where some of the Blues as younger guys are making these mistakes, because playoff hockey is a different breed. It's not like, regular season hockey where you're able to be a little bit more relaxed. It is high intense from the jump to the end. So when he did that last night, that I actually tweeted that, and I said there is no reason, unacceptable, to be that slow, that lackadaisical with only a couple of minutes left to go in a game where you're down 1 goal. And the beautiful thing, by the way, about playoff hockey is that if you go to overtime, you don't just have the 5-minute overtime. You have actual overtime. And it's a great opportunity for the Blues to take advantage of that. And they couldn't do that last night. It blows my mind. They had the extra attacker on the ice last night, and they were not able to do anything. I mean, both teams had 22 shots on goal. Winnipeg had more hits than the Blues with 33 compared to the 29. Winnipeg had more penalty minutes, 8 compared to 4. But again, it's the same exact story over and over and over again with this Blues team. In the final frame, they just shut off and they don't play the way that they should be playing, which is how they play in the first frame, which is when they play their best hockey. And I know it makes sense. Oh, they have more energy when the contest begins. Okay, well, guess what? You might be having an off season within a week. Like, that's the reality. Like, a week from now, it could be off season for the Blues. So again, you're down 2-0. I always look at statistics, right? It's a 14% chance for the Blues to win this series. But then it keeps on flipping. So after the game, like a couple hours later, it went to 12%. Yeah, not so great. So for the Blues right now, my number one focus would be Game 3. It is a must win. But I need to talk to you about the reality. Are the Jets going to sweep the St. Louis Blues? Because that could happen. But before I do that, I want to talk to you about my friends over at Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days. Whether I'm snacking at my desk, on a road trip, or I just need a quick protein boost, they're always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. The reality is right now, the Winnipeg Jets are up 2-0 in the series as they're heading back to St. Louis to take on the Blues at home on Thursday. We luckily have a couple days in between this time so we can actually breathe, try to recollect ourselves. The Blues do have an off day today, so they're going to be practicing again tomorrow. But, I have to tell you, I am nervous, okay? It's funny. There's a lot of similarities between the 2019 season and now. And it's really ironic, actually. But the Blues were up 2-0, and then the Jets came back and tied it, and then evidently the Blues ended up winning the series, winning the next 2. But anything can happen. And that's where the Blues need to lock in and take this one game at a time. This is the same St. Louis team that went on a 12-game win streak. And despite the fact that, yes, it was Winnipeg that ended the win streak, the Blues still went on a 12-game win streak, which shows me that this team is capable of winning multiple games in a row. So instead of looking at it as, the Blues need to win 4 games in a row, 1 game at a time. You're going to be at home. Playoff atmosphere in St. Louis is electric. I know. For me, last night, did I feel deflated? Absolutely. I was lost for words because of how disappointed I was in the outcome of the contest. If we're coming back to St. Louis with the series being 1-1, maybe I'd have a different mindset, a different mentality. Maybe I would feel more positive and optimistic. Right now, all I can think of is, what's it going to be? A sweep, 5-6. But I'm not giving up on my team yet because I know for a fact that a series, as crazy as it sounds, it doesn't end until that team wins their 4th game. And right now, the Jets only have 2 out of 4. I mean, the Blues have 0 out of 4. Listen, I'm trying to be optimistic, positive here on Locked On Blues, but I have to remind myself, well, they have the President's Trophy curse. As Anne from Locked On Predators was telling me as she is rooting for the Blues to somehow come out of this. And I think that is something I have to keep in mind, that at one point or another in this series, with how physical it's been, a lot of big hits, by the way, and there should have been a call on that elbow to Jordan Kyrou last night, but there wasn't because, the refs are a little bit Winnipeggy. Anyways, not an excuse, just putting that out there. A series isn't over yet. You're down 2-0. Win the next game, it's 2-1. Win that tied series. And a lot of people on my social media, they're like, "Hale, I think the Blues can win in 7." But that's not how I'm looking at this right now. As I was saying, with Winnipeg, I think that you're going to eventually tire some of the guys out a little bit. They haven't played deep playoff hockey in a while. And I'm not trying to be rude or snarky, but it is the reality. And I think that the Blues have an opportunity here to kind of see those cracks. I mean, while the Blues, in comparison, are not as good as the Jets, they're still playing some of the closest hockey that I've seen in the playoffs so far. I mean, at no point did I feel like any of these games were blowout games. Obviously, it wasn't wins for the Blues, but you get what I'm saying? It doesn't feel like, for whatever reason, that this series is going to be a sweep. And I did ask on social media, I said, do you think the Jets are going to sweep the Blues? Because one thing for me is I will have my opinion, right? And I will always, be a little bit biased towards the Blues. Obviously, I host this show, but I'm also a fan of the Blues. So for me, I just have a really hard time believing that the Jets will sweep the Blues. And I said, will the Jets sweep the Blues on Locked On Blues on Twitter? 36% of you said yes, while 64% of you said no. We have a comment, and it says, I think we will win the next 2, and then they will win once. So it will be 3-2 Jets, and then we'll force a game 7, win in double OT, and Jimmy Snuggard will get the last goal. It's a little ambitious, but I like how you think. I don't think that's going to happen. Again, ambitious. But I do think that if the Blues win the next game, then the series will completely shift, because right now the Jets, why wouldn't they feel good? Why wouldn't Jets fans feel so good about this team? And I'm seeing comments from Jets fans telling me, you should just be happy that the Blues are in the playoffs. But no, that's not how any fan base works. That's not how any fan works. I'm happy the Blues are in the playoffs. Don't get me wrong. I am. It's great. I'm so happy about that. I love playoff hockey. But I'm not going to settle and think, oh, well, they're in the playoffs, so that's all we got. No, I want this team to win. I know this is not the 2019 team. And I think that is one thing that a lot of people need to get out of their heads. And I came on this podcast, so I even said that this is a completely different team than 2019. The defense was better in 2019. A lot better than the defense now. A lot better. But overall, I think that what Coach Montgomery has done for this team this season, since he's come in from, being fired with Boston, has been spectacular. And I am hoping that our superstars like a Kyrou, a Thomas, a Bushi, a Schenner, they end up, taking more shots on goal in the next game. And that's what I'm going to talk about in my upcoming segment of what changes are needed for the next game. But before I do that, I'm going to talk to my friends over at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and you place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props. From three-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine your live prop bets into same-game parlays for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. For changes that are needed to be made, I have to say this. I was a little bit surprised that Snuggie was on the first line with Robert Thomas and Bushi. I was a little bit surprised about that. Here's the thing. I think that Snuggerud has been playing some really good hockey. And I think that, again, that's just a testament to how he played in college. I think that, at 20 years old, he did a lot of good things. But I don't agree in flipping him and Jake Neighbors. What I honestly would prefer, and call me absolutely crazy, I would say bring up Jake and put Snuggie on the second line, put down Boosh and put Jordan Kyrou on the first line. So have it be Neighbors, Thomas, and Kyrou, and then have it being Snuggie, Shenner, and Bushi. That, to me, I feel like would be a really good combination. I feel like one thing that I saw last night was the invisibility of Bush, and I did not like it. Bushnevich, obviously a very good player. However, in the playoffs, I feel like he has a tendency to disappear, which is something that makes me incredibly nervous. I also think, too, just thinking back about it, you have an opportunity here, right? And a good opportunity. I'm very excited about the defense in a sense because I know they did have that seventh defenseman. Call me crazy. And I know you're going to think I'm crazy. What if, just hear me out, hypothetical. What if you put, I know, 40-year-old Ryan Suter, but seriously, what if you put Ryan Suter with Colton Parayko? You drop Cam Fowler with Justin Folk, and then you put Philip Broberg with Letty, and then rotate in Tyler Tucker. I know that sounds crazy, but I was thinking about it last night, right? And for whatever reason in my head, it just made absolute sense. Ryan Suter, when he did play on the first pair with Colton Parayko, I thought he looked great. I really did. And I know that was a long time ago in the season, but that was some of the best hockey that Suits has played. And last night, he didn't look horrible, a little bit invisible. But again, I'm not really seeing what I need to see out of Philip Broberg, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I'm not. When it comes to Justin Folk and Nick Letty, I mean, oh, man. Both of them, is it bad if I say both are liabilities? But I can't have them being on the same pairing, and they both don't want to play on their opposite sides, obviously. So that's fine. The first power play is interesting, too, because we have Snuggie, Thomas, Bushi, Fowler, and Bolduc. This is interesting, right? Because Bushi, for whatever reason, to me, just isn't doing it. So then it's okay, well, what would I do on the power play unit? And I think I would switch a couple of things. I was actually debating about this, and I think this oddly might work. Snuggie, Thomas, Oscar Sundquist, Bolduc, and Fowler. And then on the second power play unit, I know we have Justin Folk on it. Oh, would I be wrong if I said Philip Broberg? Because he is a good two-way defenseman. He plays much better offensively than he does defensively sometimes. Reality of the situation. So that, for me, I would personally switch. Penalty kill, it's interesting. On our first unit, it's Foxa, Turchenko, Suits, and Parayko. I'm mostly okay with that, honestly. I actually thought our penalty kill unit did fine. Our second penalty kill mit's Thomas, Bushi, Broberg, and Folk. Oh, that makes me nervous. It's Bushi that's making me so on edge, maybe. Is that an opportunity maybe for for a guy like Sundqvist, maybe. I know, but I'm just saying. Anyways, let me know your thoughts. I feel like the Blues can still potentially win game 3. I'm going to be positive because my team's in the playoffs, and I just did a show with all the Locked On hosts that are not in the playoffs, so I feel like I have that responsibility to say that. Let me know your thoughts down below. I love this team, and I just want them to win at least one playoff game. Let's go Blues.